Hello, everybody.
Hi, Mandy Pallone here with Fairway Mortgage.
And this is Anthony Meisner with Land Title. We wanted to bring you another one of our live updates.
The best. We're going to be here all year next year, and every Wednesday giving the updates so that you're prepared for the weekend and midweek update, so you're well informed.
Today we're going to talk about investors. We're going to talk about the top 3 things you need to know about investors. So let's just get right into it. Number 1, I think the best thing for you to understand, well, let me get out of the way here so you can see it, is this is a really good time for a deal in the marketplace. And one of the best parts about that is just December is always a good time for a deal. But here we are in a market that makes so much sense as an investor to get in. Interest rates are high. Normal buyers are kind of panicking and freaking out about things. And all of us that kind of know what's coming on is we all know interest rates are going to come down, which Mandy's going to talk to us a little bit about. And, buyers are going to actually come back to the market too. So this is your time. Like, there's some really cool stuff here. Check this out. I want to show you a graph that we pull every single month. And it talks about our percentage close price to list price. And so 98% was our percentage close to list price for all of Boulder County. And honestly, that's kind of trended down month over month over month. And you're going to see December be even lower, which means people are getting deals, right? And even though 2% off of the purchase price doesn't seem like a deal, you guys are helping people negotiate a lot right now, right?
Yeah, we've got lots of seller concessions going on right now. And this, to me, talking about how if it's listed, it's closing, that to me is a big sign that the sellers want to sell.
I agree.
And if they're listed right now, then you can probably get it and get it for a good deal.
Yeah, absolutely. The number 2 talking point is you're not overpaying.
Right.
And I will show you why here, because people have been chasing prices down since about April. You can really see here at the peak of the market, we were kind of peaked in April last year, peaked in April this year, and we've done nothing but chase prices down all year. And even though it's been marginal, that's marginal every single month, and you're bound to see prices recover next year as interest rates start to improve.
Okay, you got to tell me more about this graph.
Okay, so the blue line is 2022. And that is basically this year's average sales price, right? Red being last year's average sales price and the 2 previous years before that.
Okay.
So you can see it laddering up every single year. Well, we have all these bidding wars. It creates a ton of market appreciation. That happens every springtime. Well, normally we kind of see, prices plateau through the summer and the fall, and then they might drop for like a month or 2, right?
Yeah.
They drop through November, December. But this year, because of interest rates going from basically 3 to 7% and then slowly back down, we've seen the market basically like try to catch up to that because buyers buy by payment, right? They don't necessarily buy by, the price of the home or anything else unless you're a cash buyer. So,
well, and the lower the payment is, the more buyers are in the market.
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing that I'm seeing is that when interest rates were low, it was cheaper to rent than it was to buy for a lot of people. And so that brought a lot of buyers out that would have been renters and now are again saying, hey, no, rent's cheaper than buying, so I'm going to stick with my rent.
Yeah, and I think if we can really prove to those first-time home buyers the opposite, they're going to go back into the market. And I would say that that's, most investors' biggest hurdle is they're competing with first-time home buyers over the last few years because these first-time home buyers can't buy these fancy, nice houses, so they end up entering the market into what normally would have been an investor property, right?
Yep. I love that. And I also love this graph because it shows how much we increased at the beginning of the year for 2022. And then we kind of peaked, and then we had that crazy drop in July, which a lot of people had theories that it had to do with vacations.
And
I lived through that, and I really believe it because I felt like everybody I knew was on vacation.
We had a huge dip in sales. Nobody was doing
anything. So I feel like that little dip was from people being on vacation, and
it's like
all
that
the people,
COVID hangover vacations.
Yes, the people who didn't, take a vacation during COVID, they took it this summer. Then we saw that it go up right when school started and slowly coming down. So this is a great graph because it shows that we might be decelerating. I know these are like the buzzwords right now. We might be decelerating in price, but we're still not. Look at that year over year, that line in the red. They're not far off.
No, they're not far off. And I truly think the composition of sales is a little different too, which we probably shouldn't even really talk about much today, but things have changed a lot because of just that cost basis, right?
Right.
So let's get into number 3. Number 3 is that inventory is sitting on the market. And the best part about this is people are pulling stuff off. And we've been talking to a lot of people about pulling listings off in December. They're relisting in January, December. So we should have a surge in inventory, right? So right now and into January, I think there's a good window of opportunity for investors. And you can see this here. The chart below doesn't need to make a ton of sense. But what I wanted to point out the most is if you're even talking 3+ million, we're back to 8.5 months of inventory. We haven't seen this kind of inventory on the market since 2020.
Wow.
So this is a good sign for buyers, and it's a really good sign for investors because even at some of those lower price points, we finally have a little bit of inventory to look at, which means maybe there's some stigmatized properties that you can jump in on over this week or the next.
Okay, so remind me, what's the magical number here?
Okay, so 4 to 6 months is a balanced market.
Okay.
So anything over 6 months would be considered a buyer's market. So we're still in a really relative seller's market, but it really doesn't feel like that because we have low inventory and nearly no buyers out there shopping. So we're in a really small window of opportunity where buyers actually hold most of the cards.
Nice.
All right, so tell us about this one. This is the yield curve, right?
Yes.
So this basically predicts recessions, I think.
Yeah, so what this shows is the past, let's see, all the gray areas on the graph show past recessions. So we had one in 2020, a little blip of a recession. We had the big one in 07 and 08, and then all the previous ones. So when you look at this graph, you can see in the gray areas right below that, interest rates have come down. And so the yield curve is going up. And basically, you're seeing that this is going to show we're in this recessionary period now. Everybody's predicting a recession. And when with recession, interest rates come down.
Pre-recession means inverted yield curve, right? So then in recession to follow. And then how do they pull us out of a recession?
Typically with real estate and with, interest rates.
Lower interest rates.
Right. Lower interest rates. And Jerome Powell did say next year we're probably going to keep the interest rates the way they are right now.
I would assume the Fed interest rate.
The Fed interest rate, not mortgage interest rates. But so hopefully maybe in 2024 the Feds will start bringing the rate back down. But
yeah, I mean, I think we'll see in the 5s next year, which is going to be really good for the market. And if you plan well enough, you can refinance through this and chase rates back down into the 4s, which is where they'll probably end up according to everybody. So that's always exciting. All right. Explain this one because this one is your bread and butter.
Yeah. So this is basically the mortgage-backed securities and where they're trading at. So up means good, down means bad. You can see the big peaks in here, the big days when we have a lot of movement. Like if you look at over November 14th, that's when we got the reports out about inflation. So we got another one at the beginning of December, and that's where we see that nice little peak right there. But we're probably going to stay strong right where we're at until we get some more reports out about inflation in December.
Great.
So it'll probably be the first or second week of January.
But green is good, right? Because
green is good.
Green means interest rates are going down.
Right. And so we're probably just going to stay steady. Hopefully nothing major changes. There was one report that came out yesterday about Japan and how they did some Fed rate hikes.
I did hear about that.
And so that was kind of a surprise. But other than that, we're not expecting any surprising news coming out.
No, and when Japan did that, I truly think if nothing else, it's going to pull money out of our market into theirs, which actually might make these drop even lower.
Right.
Right. So here's 30-year interest rates.
Yep. And so we're right at hovering above 6. In a lot of scenarios, we're getting sellers to pay down below 6 and be in the 5s.
Right.
And, the experts are thinking that even through next year, we're talking about lower interest rates, but we're not talking much lower than 5.
Great.
And I would probably agree with that. I think best case scenario, we're going to get maybe 4.5. But I don't think we're going to get much below 5. So if you can get the seller to buy that down now, I have one buyer under contract right now. The seller is paying $10,000 under for a concession, which is not terrible.
No, not at all.
And we're buying their rate down to 5.25. Permanently.
Great.
So it's not even a temporary buy down. We're buying it down permanently, and it reduces his chance of having to refinance by a lot.
Okay, so we're talking 30-year and primary rates, right? That's awesome. Right. What if we and our investors here want to buy investor loans.
They're typically about a 1% higher. So right above 7 is probably about accurate.
So I think this is where one of those times where if you can weather that storm for a year,
Mhm.
it may not have the best cash flow or may not have any cash flow. It might be subsidizing that.
Mhm.
But once we get into these better interest rate times
Yes.
and a year or two from now, you'll be able to refinance out of that. You get this property at a really good deal right now.
Right.
Because I truly think we're going to see some major appreciation, even if 2023 is pretty flat. 2024 is going to be awesome, and you're going to have
Mhm.
way too many people out there shopping and bidding wars again. So this is really like that window of opportunity for a couple months here where we're not going to see this again.
Right. And the ARM products are doing really well too. This one shows 6% at an ARM. I have a lot of investors who are choosing ARM products, and they're nothing like the way that they used to be. They're not like in the early 2000s. I sold those loans, so I know all about them, but they're not like those programs that had the early prepay penalties and tricky ARM features where they're floating up and down, and they've got weird adjustment periods. We don't have that anymore. These ARMs that most of us are selling are very vanilla, very boring. They're fixed for 5 or 7 years, maybe 10. The 10-year ARM isn't significantly better priced than a 30-year fixed, so I probably wouldn't go with that.
I love the 5-year ARM right now. I
Yeah.
think it's a great product. The
Yeah.
only problem is everybody knows it's a great product, so
Mhm.
they're not really that big of a discount compared to what they
Right.
used to be.
But for my investors, we're doing a lot of 5-year ARMs.
That's awesome.
And it's nice because they know that it's not going to be a long-term investment, and they're confident. They've owned properties before that they know that the rates will come down, and if not, they may unload it.
Awesome.
They're not living in it,
No, I
so
agree.
it's fine.
5 years is awesome time for
Right.
an investment. You kind of need to hold
Mhm.
a real estate property for at least that long. So
Right.
that could be a really good window for
Mhm.
reassess, right? All right. So what's this one? This is our last one we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so this is the Boulder County. It's basically a real estate report card. I could talk probably for an hour about this real estate report card.
So what are the highlights that the investors
Yeah,
need to know?
so the highlights are that basically we talk about household formations in this one. So we're talking about that 27 to 35-year-old population. In Boulder, you can see the demographics here on the left. It says 18 to 36. That's their big one. Well, that's because of CU, right? But there's a large population of 27 to 35-year-olds. And these are the people who actually take houses from inventory. So we can tell the health of a market by how many people are in this demographic living in an area. And what we know about them is that the second they're going to have a baby, their chances of buying a house are about 81%.
That doesn't surprise
If
me.
they're going to have their second baby, their chances are 83%. So
Well,
to me,
they're more likely to buy again.
yes,
Number two.
with this number 2. But what that means is there's not a big difference between one baby and 2 babies. It's a baby. And so
Right.
if we're talking about household formations and how many first-time home purchases are going to be taken from inventory, that's how we can see the health of a market. So this one shows Boulder household formations, 4,400 of them, and then first-time home purchases to be taken from inventory, that's about 62% homeownership rate. So there's going to say 2,700 houses are going to be taken, and we're only building 1,400.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably not great.
No.
I mean, and it's going to get worse over the next 2 years because
Right.
now all the builders decide to
Right.
hit the pause button. So if nothing else, if you guys are tuning into this and you're interested in getting into lot development, it seems like this is an awesome time to do it
Right.
because it takes a couple of years for that to get going in Boulder County. It's so slow.
Especially Boulder County. But look, I mean, the actual homes being built is so small.
So
And if this is very simple economics, this isn't like, all the freakonomics things.
Yeah.
This is basically saying we're not building enough to keep up with the demand. And if you pull this real estate report card in other places in the country, it shows not every county is like this. Not every city is like this. The older the population, the harder the demographic is because they're not going to be taking homes from inventory.
Right. Yeah, they're multiple family
Right.
households or whatever right now. So,
Mhm.
well, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
exciting news. If nothing else, that tells me we need to buy more real estate right now.
Right. Especially in Boulder County.
Especially in Boulder. County.
Right.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for you today.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Feel free to reach out to us. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, all of the above. And we will see you after Christmas.
We will. We're going to take next week off,
Mhm.
mainly because we really need to focus on those reports coming out on January 1.
Yep.
So we will see you the very first week of January with some really fresh information,
Yep.
and we'll help you all prepare for the new year.
Sounds good.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.